motorcycle is built to follow a lieutenant out of an airplane, not into a lieutenant's fucking toilet. Now this motorcycle runs on gasoline because it performs a higher function than diesel hauling Burger King around base. But this motorcycle remembers the palm out salute because this motorcycle belongs to the Canadian Army, eh?
Target lost. Over. Sitrep. Canadian MT500s, much like Canadians, are imported from other countries. So sorry about the earlier bravado, bud.
Harley-Davidson built the military Transport 500 most recently, hoping a cheap dispatch vehicle would sell like bomb cakes to any nation sick of carrying a Prick 77 on their back. Two roadblocks to that. First, the radio units of Vietnam gave way to comm systems so tiny soldiers just pocket them, or so large you need a Humvee, not a motorbike. Second, NATO standardizes diesel fuel so the military KLR carries the day. The few MTs Harley builds in a locked-off military personnel-only section of their Pennsylvania factory end up in the bargain bin of local 90s dealerships for $9,999. Conclusion? We needn't thank the Americans at all because before '93, 3,000 MT500s were made on the other side of the pond.
God save the Queen.
AKA the Armstrong, this bike was built by Armstrong Motorcycles 5 clicks from Manchester. Can confirm they saw action in the Falklands War. The SAS were even rumored to jump out of helicopters with them like the old Flying Fleet. Suspected myth. My Special Forces uncle, who doesn't exist, say
they've always preferred XR250s, CRF 450s. There's nothing the government can make standard issue that won't be outrun by a racing Honda.
Unclassified service records show MT500s mostly being used to chase drunk privates around base, when the MPs could keep them idling. From all the sub 5,000 kilometer bikes surplused into the wild, we can guess even they had scarce use for them. By the end of the Gulf War, dozens of MT500s are bulldozed into ditches rather than shipped home, so the warhorse similarly unloved by Britain.
Well, we didn't thank the teabaggers either, because all they did was take an Italian SWM-XN and dip it in green paint. You wind back the Rolodex even further to '82, and that bike was a badge engineering job of the Can-Am Sonic 500 from right before they went under. So shit, it is Canadian after all.
This one spent its entire service life in 5 CF Moncton before being surplused in 1995. Still though, I can't find a good word about the ride experience.
Civilians hated him for the left-hand kick. See, when Can-Am designed this, they spec'd a precise Maicuni carb. SWN subbed in an Italian Dell'Orto, but Armstrong needed the whole thing to be military grade, which means spec'd by the cheapest possible bidder. So we have the Samal Mark II that floods when your mom sits on it wrong. Now, standard starting procedure is 7/8 choke, 1/8 throttle, 1 kick, and it's already flooded. So now you unfuck yourself by pulling the decompress and pumping it no more, no less than 7 times. And you look through this little window to find top dead center. The UN added that in 1986 when starting the MT500 was declared a war crime. And now you get one more kick.
Fortunately, it was deemed a waste of life to have entire platoons failing to start one MT500, so our Department of National Defense spec'd the electric start. 28 HP and 162 kg, this thing is a perfect match for the WR250 if it weren't 100 pounds heavier. Marzocchi forks and Olin shocks sound good until you realize twin bed springs are 2 decades out of date even in '86. And it's the only motorcycle I've ever ridden with a smaller front brake than rear. A 140mm drum leads a 150mm on the back, so you'll rear end everybody, but in style. The ride is just silly until I send it. The front wheel mounts on 4 bearings instead of 2. The rear lands on 6 instead of the usual 3. The only way it'll hit 130 kph is to drop it out of an airplane, but damn if the thing don't roll away from that.
Standard operating procedure when you drop it is a perimeter check to make sure that the ground is okay. See, any tip overs just hit the foo bars, so named because they'll fuck up beyond all recognition anything they hit. They also hold a radio, a jerry can, the pump, and a 9mm C1 SMG.
You can take the entire bike to its components with the world's most comprehensive stock toolkit, and 95% of the disassembly can be done with just the 5mm Allen and a 13mm wrench. The rear wheel is quick disconnect, so tire changes needn't remove the sprocket, chain, cush drive, or brake. In fact, all you need is a freaking stick. It also has a huge gas hole, so shaky hands won't spill. There's even a soup sandwich in here to hold it captive, so panicky privates can't leave the cat behind. Runs on any foreign hooch above 80 octane, too. But coolest of all, the dash and lights run on a separate circuit from the CDI that sparks the engine. One kill switch kills the whole electrical system for stealth mode. Still though, I can't find a good word about this engine. With the doubly long stealth muffler, all you hear is this annoying whir from inside the engine case, like a generator. Whoa, it is a belt-driven camshaft. That's a reserve of race engines. See, these are lighter than a chain. They let the engine spin up fractionally faster, but timing belts can snap. And when timing goes to shit, the piston and valves clobber each other in mutually assured destruction. Why would this mule risk a belt-driven cam unless it's a non-interference engine? Nearly every motorcycle made in the past 50 years has been interference. The piston and valves interfere on each other's space. You need that much compression to pass efficiency, emissions, and any reasonable performance targets for half a century now. But the Army doesn't care, so they spec'd a connecting rod 2mm shorter in stroke, so the piston could never hit even a fully open valve. The timing could be random, and still this engine will not destroy itself. Of course, a destruction-proof engine is also nearly starting-proof. That's why it's such a pain to kick over. That's why it dies all the time. But the very low compression is also how it can run 80 octane from any country on Earth without pre-ignition. And that also means that inside this 28 horsepower glue bucket of a motor lies a very high performance rotax. Now I see the magnesium casings, the huge cooling vents in the mudguard, the 4 overhead belt-driven valves. Now I see how flat trackers were able to get 70 horsepower from this single cylinder. And now I see why Harley-Davidson ever wanted to buy the outdated plans in the first place, for its race engine. Now, what I thought was a slow, awkward ride of dubious origin comes up as a rare Canadian juggernaut with a racing heart. And you can still pick these up for 2,000 quid in the UK, which is an absolute gift. Grifters have been slapping on Harley plastics and selling them to patriots over here for 15 grand, which I used to laugh at, but a smartass like me can pick apart the faults in something. The wise men keep riding until they find the good word.
Should old acquaintance speak for bartending?
the days of old Lakeside. For old Lakeside, my dear, for old Lakeside. We'll drink a cup of kindness yet for the sake of old Lakeside. For old Lakeside, my dear, for old Lakeside. We'll drink a cup of kindness yet for the sake of old Lakeside.